Hey everybody, Clifford Starks here. I'm joined by Lily Ma. We're doing podcast format. Let me know how you like it, comment below, and I hope you enjoy it. When did you start dancing and when did your instructor actually tell you that?
Okay, so I started dancing later on in my life. I started dancing when I was 23 years old,
Okay.
which is rare.
They normally start earlier.
They normally start really early.
Okay.
And I'm a very tall woman. I'm about 5'7", and most dancers are 5'1".
Okay.
And they're a lot smaller than me. And so when I first started dancing, I was just really awkward. And I started dancing not because I wanted to be the best dancer in the world. It was just for me to step outside of my comfort zone and get to know people. I was in a period of my life that I was working a lot. I was in the corporate world. I was a young professional, but I wanted more of a connection. I was also single at the time. I was just out of a really terrible relationship at the time. So I was trying to find a way to connect with people, and if some of them happen to be men, great.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I was thinking, and so I started dancing, and I was just like really bad at it. But it was like really bad at it. But I stuck with it for a couple of years, and it wasn't until I was deep into dance, because I kept on going back. I went there because I wanted the connection, but I stayed because I felt like it was a great challenge for me to continue on. It wasn't until a couple of years later when I started doing a lot of performance type work, and I was just told that, you are not shaped like everybody else. You're going to have a lot of problems because your body is different. You're not naturally flexible. You have flat feet. Your arch is not great. And as a dancer, you have to have amazing arch on your feet. And I was born with flat feet. Like, what do I do then?
Okay.
So I did everything I could. And I was also a lot bigger. I was, most dancers are tiny people. And I was on the bigger side.
Yeah.
I still am. Like, I haven't changed that much since then.
Okay.
So I went to a chiropractor to try to figure out how to fix my feet.
Oh, wow.
And then the chiropractor that I went to was not a nice person either. So he said, he's like, oh wow, he's like, you probably should give that up because your feet are just not meant for this. But you know what? Maybe what you can do is you could get these orthotics and you could wear them, and it could help you have a little bit of comfort. And I wasn't okay with that.
Okay.
So I told myself that no, I'm not okay with just following and just putting some orthotic in my shoes. I'm going to change the physiology of my feet. And I know it's possible.
Yeah.
And then I ended up meeting this brilliant dancer who I ended up becoming really good friends with. She said, you know what? I've had the same issue too. She's like, I have flat feet, and these are the exercises that I've done. So I did these ballet exercises every single day for a year. And they were painful exercises. For a year, I did it every single day. I sat at a desk, and I did the exercises under my desk so no one would see. And I did these exercises for the entire year, every single day. And I actually have a brilliant arch in my feet now. So I changed the physiology of my foot.
That's crazy.
Because I made the decision that I was going to do it. And I did. And it was something that nobody thought it was possible like this. Certainly the chiropractor that I went to didn't think that was possible because that's why he was giving me orthotics. So that's my story.
Okay.
My dance.
I'm curious. So what made you go from I'm just going to do this for fun to I'm going to change the physiology of my feet?
It's interesting. I don't know. I can't really pinpoint it. I think it's a mindset that I have. I've always had a mindset that I like to stand for the impossible. I like to show people that you don't have to necessarily be born a certain way to achieve amazing things. I look at my life. I have very humble beginnings. I come from a very poor country. I come from India, one of the poorest countries in the world when I was growing up. I came to Canada with my parents. We didn't have a lot of money, but I always believed deep down inside of me that I'm responsible for my life and I could make anything happen. And
That's
I think
awesome.
when I'm put in a situation where I'm told that you can't be this, or because of your body, or because of your economic status, or because of your gender, because of your race, is when I really, really say that, you know what, it's going to happen. You watch me. It's going to happen. So I love challenging things, and I love pushing the limits to the best that I can. Sometimes I break, though. That's the downside of it. You push yourself too hard to the point that you just break, and that's not great either. So I'm trying to find a balance now as I've gotten older.
Okay. Yeah, with so when I was younger, I don't remember the exact age, but my dad put me in front of the mirror, and he told me, whatever happens in this world, it's because you created it. And that's kind of stuck very strongly with me from then to now. And so one thing I've always kind of noticed with people, because I actually used to be bullied when I was in middle school and elementary school. And I would look at my bullies and I would try and understand the bully's side. Because
that's so interesting. Can you please say more about that? Because that's a very, very cool thing.
Yeah, I believe that people all have something really special about them, and when an individual is happy, they don't want to bully other people. So I don't know why I've always had it, because my mom was kind of like you've always had that at a really young age, but it's one thing I say, hurt people. And so even looking at the naysayers that you dealt with, it's like for them to naysay the way that they are, even if they're trying to look out for your best interests, they're not seeing what you call the impossible. Because you're seeing a world that's possible. You are seeing the impossible. And if you see the impossible, then it is possible.
Yeah, it's like, it's amazing. It's like I can't remember the story, but the story is like, I don't remember it. Okay, maybe it will come back to me after a while.
Okay.
It's along the same lines as what we're talking about.
Oh, awesome.
If everyone thinks it's impossible until someone proves that it's possible, then all of a sudden everyone's breaking all sorts of records, but it takes one person to show that
it's so funny. It happens all the time. It actually happened with the 4-minute mile. At one time, no one thought anyone could do a 4-minute mile.
That's the story.
Oh, really?
Exactly. That's the story I was thinking of. Okay, tell me about the story.
So there was a guy who said he's going to make the 4-minute mile time, and everyone told him how no one can. It's just the physiology of the body. It is an impossibility. And then when he broke that time, people started breaking the time regularly. Yeah, and it comes down. Lily, they have stories like this on a regular basis. That is the funny part of it, is we as people sometimes don't realize how great our potential absolutely is. Like I saw, there was a wrestler, his name is Kyle Maynard, and he didn't have forearms or hands, and he didn't have shins or feet, right? I don't remember what his disability was called, but he was born that way. And he became a wrestler, and he went 0-35. So his first 35 matches, he lost all 35. And that's what people would expect. And like, well, you don't have hands and forearms, and you don't have shins and feet. So what are you going to do? You can't. He ended up becoming a state champion. Yeah. So if he could have quit at any time, no one would have gave him any scruff for quitting. Like, I don't even know if I could go 0-35 in something. That would be very difficult, because that's having a very intense mindset to be like, no, I am going to figure this out. And so the cool thing, when a person's passionate enough about something, when they have that focused, burning desire to do something, they can do the so-called impossible. They make the impossible possible. And it's one of the coolest things. And what's really cool, really cool, so people like you and Alexandria and Melissa O'Brien and Evan Carmichael and just a whole bunch of people getting together, believing in one another, believing in everybody's skill sets. And the cool thing, like, so Evan Carmichael and you guys live in a place of abundance. There is no lack.
Yeah.
And the reason the abundance is there is because Evan Carmichael said it best. No one can be a better Evan Carmichael than Evan Carmichael. The same thing, like no one can beat him there. Just like no one can beat Clifford Starks at Clifford Starks, and no one can beat Lily May at Lily May. Like, you are always going to be the best you that you can be. And so if you focus in a mindset like that, then you're always going to live in a world of abundance. And so, like, the bullies and the angry people, and he calls it the little man, all of these people, I'm not mad at them. I just see they live in a world of lack. And when you live in that world of lack, then you can't help but to be a naysayer, to have that fear, to have those anxieties, to feel it's outside of you. It's not inside of you. It's always out there. It's always been in you. Whatever you want to achieve, whatever you want to believe, you can do it. You just have to find a way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I've seen it. It's the feeling that I get when I see something like that, living in abundance, living abundantly, being your best you. I love that feeling. But I also love the feeling of teaching those in lack to believe in that as well. That's actually why I became a personal trainer in the first place. Because I've seen, I have never seen a person that I didn't like. Because I know they all have something special in them. Even when they've been beaten down and broken down so badly, they don't believe it anymore themselves. And the coolest thing, you look at someone who has that little man syndrome, and it's hard sometimes. It's hard to want to believe in an individual like that because they don't give you any reason to like them. But if you were to put it in a movie theater and you see it from the beginning to where they're at, sometimes it makes sense. And you're like, oh, okay, and now I can empathize. I see why they see the world that way, and it's unfortunate, and let me show them a different way. That doesn't necessarily mean they'll change it, but sometimes they do.
Yeah. No, that's very powerful right there.
Yeah.
I think there's different schools of thought in this world, and I'm from the school of thought that I think all of us, human beings, are born inherently good. Mm-hmm. And something happens along the line. And I know people are probably going to use extreme, right? Like, what about this person? What about that person? Were they born inherently good? Yeah, I'm going to say they were born inherently good. Something happened along the lines that made them turn the other way. And when you think about, like, mass murders and all of that, that's huge. That's to the extreme. But everyday people, something has happened to them. We have all had trauma in our lives. Some people cope with trauma better and some people don't. And that's going back to what you're saying, is that really understanding the bully from their perspective versus just saying, like, that's just a terrible human being and I would never like to be around them. Yeah. I mean, you've taken a very different mindset that a lot of people would. Yes. And living in the world of abundance, I think there's a lot of this idea that there isn't enough money or enough success to go around. If this person makes this much money, then now there's less money for me. The reality is there's so much money and so much success to be given out to everybody in this world. It's never going to run out. And it's much better to be in that space of abundance, knowing that everyone could get what they want, versus if this person gets what they want, then I can't get what I want. It doesn't have to be that way. As long as you don't stand in the way of someone else, you could always get what you want. Just don't stand in the way of other people. And it's a really good mindset to get into. And that's the reason why I work with Alexandra, I work with Melissa, and now I'm working with you, is that because I could be hoarding all my information too. I was like, no, I'm not gonna give this out. I'm just gonna keep it for myself. But really, there's enough information to go around. You too, right? You could say, no, I'm gonna keep my information. I'm gonna have the best body. I'm gonna be the strongest person. I'm not gonna share my information because if I share my information, then people are going to take away my success. But you don't look at it that way. You look at it like the more you share, the better.
Yes, and it feels better for everybody too. I do know that train of thought with some people who will say certain people are born inherently a certain way, but I'm telling you, when you really break it down, and that doesn't mean to turn a blind eye to those situations. There are certain people that are very cancerous and very toxic, and something does need to be done about that. But what I do say is you can still have empathy for that thing, even if it's not healthy for you to be in a situation with, it's not healthy to be in a situation with toxic people. I'm a big believer in that. But at the same time, if you can empathize with that, you don't have to hate that though. That hate is what drives things, like it almost puts you in that same situation as those toxic individuals. And I'll never forget, there was a story of a samurai and his master was assassinated. And so the samurai went off to kill the man who had assassinated his master. And so he found the assassinator and he took out his sword and the guy spit in his face. And so the samurai put his sword back in his sheath and he walked away. And what that was saying was he wanted to kill that individual out of anger now. It wasn't to do what was right anymore. It was his emotional feeling of anger towards this person. And so I like using, like, if an individual has cancer, you do want to extract the cancer, but you don't hate the cancer. Cancer's just doing what it knows to do, and that's reproduce more irregular cells. But hating the cancer won't do anything. And that's what some people do is, well, there's this and people are born. It's like, are you really born this way if something horrible happened in your life? It doesn't justify it, but it empathizes. Or you look at, they did a study with monkeys where they had some monkeys with like a nice cloth. They would feed these monkeys and let them play with the cloth. And then there was another group of monkeys where they had like this iron looking monkey. And they would, oh, you know what I'm talking about? You've heard of it?
Yeah, it's the Harlow study.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so those monkeys with the iron monkey became sociopaths.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with, like, when you look at the humanity of things, like if you find a sociopath, like, well, what happened to this individual for them to become the way that they were? Because I'm a big believer as well that people are naturally, inherently good. We want to do right by one another. And somewhere down the line, either we've been beaten down so badly or someone made us live in a world of lack or whatever it may be, they turn into the darkness. But the light's inside them too. I say people function, like, you can either function at your 10 or you can function at your 1. And we all have it. But it takes practice to function at your 10, but it also takes practice to function at your 1. And I don't think people want to function at their 1. Like, when a person does horrible things, they don't feel good about that until they've done horrible things over and over and over again, and then it becomes a habit.
Yeah, no, that is so true. It's very important what you mentioned a little bit early on, saying that it doesn't justify people's actions and it doesn't mean that it's okay, that you have to deal with it. It's true. What we're talking about here is not hating people for who they are, but also at the same time, we have to create boundaries around us and not be around people who are toxic. Especially because when you're on a path of self-growth, if there are people who are very toxic and negative around you, it's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that you brought that up. Being understanding and empathetic, but also at the same time, not allowing that to infect you and bother you and bring you down. That's a very important point.
Absolutely.
And I like that you brought up the Harlow study. The Harlow study is something, I studied psychology when in university, and I remember studying about that.
Okay.
The monkey. It's true. And we are, we're primates ourselves. Like, we're social beings. A lot of how we are is the conditioning that we've had from childhood.
Yes.
So a lot of things have happened to people.
Yeah.
And I do this all the time with my clients, and it's so strange, Clifford. I'm not doing this on purpose. Okay, I'm not doing this on purpose. I'm not leading this conversation, my coaching conversations in this way. But somehow, most of my coaching, I don't know why this happens. Most of my coaching clients, it goes down to their childhood. Like, a lot of the problems that they have today, they can pinpoint it. Something happened to them when they were a child. Whether if it's with a parent, with a teacher, with an authority figure. Like, something happened to them to kind of create the way that like, I'm talking on the negative side, right? If they have some kind of fear of rejection or worthiness issues, it comes from childhood a lot of the times. And I have to tell you that I'm not leading the conversation that way. It just happens.
Oh no, I 100% get it. So me, even as a personal trainer, I wanted to become a personal trainer to help people get the bodies that they wanted, to put them in the situation they needed to be put into, and to have a healthy balance. And I actually did a bodybuilding show. And what I saw was, wow, you can have a healthy body, but if your mind's not right, it does not matter. Like, you can have the healthiest body on the planet, but if you don't have a healthy mindset, it's a wrap. Sometimes you're actually worse off, because it's always, you still have that lack. You still have that, I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I'm not enough. I need more. I need more. And the most important thing is being okay with being okay. And what I mean by that is, when you're okay with being okay, you're gonna go strive for greatness. It's not this thing of like, oh, well, you're okay with being okay, you're okay with being lazy. No, you're going to push the envelope. You're going, because that is what true living is. Being your greatest self. Like, me as an athlete, I don't train for anyone else but myself, and for everybody. It's a weird kind of, I call it the eye of the storm, where everything happens and nothing is happening all at the same time. And that is a spot that is hard for people to get to. But when they get to that spot, then they really get it. And it's like, I'm striving for greatness, because that's what true living is. That's what you see some of the greats. Martin Luther King Jr., I almost feel he knew he was going to get assassinated, but his dream was bigger than him. And that's what it comes down to. Like, for me, my dream is bigger than me. It's something that I want to strive to spread to people, and they'll spread it, and others will spread it, and they'll continue to spread this message of being your best self, elevating to your best self. And I want it to continue to spread when I'm long gone. Like, I think that's what people functioning at their 10 would want to do with other people. That's where the abundance comes into play.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing, because when you say it like that, I know what you mean when people say, "Oh, are you okay with being okay?" But you're still striving for greatness. It's such a balance to have in your life, and once you figure that out, And once people in general figure that out, it's such a beautiful place to be, because you know that your self-worth is not tied to the outcome.
Yes.
But you're still on this journey in being your greatest self. And the work is never done. You know that. This work is never done. Every single day you're striving to get better. And you brought up Martin Luther King. And it's interesting because he had this vision that it's still continuing on many years after he has died, because he was about something much bigger than himself.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to the next point too. For people in general, whether you're working on your body, you're working on personal development, you want to be a speaker, or you're all of the above, when you're doing things for a greater purpose that is bigger than you, we automatically, number one, we're happier about it, and number two, we work harder, in my opinion. Like, it's something greater than us. Like, you're not doing it for the validation of other people, but really you have a vision that is big.
Absolutely.
For you talked about, before we got on the call, you talked about greatness.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's much bigger than just one person. Now you're talking about leading an entire generation of people.
What was so cool about this man too is he did come from a place of empathy. And I don't think people sometimes understand the importance of that. It's hard to do, because it's like you need to see the world from another person's eyes, and then you see it through your eyes. It's easy to see it through your eyes. That's easy to do. But when you take the time to see it through another person's eyes, then they'll actually take the time to actually empathize with you too.
Yeah.
And so that's what he took, and he talked about equality, bringing people together, not separating, no, we deserve this. The second I deserve this, then that person's thinking about what they deserve. But if I ask, what do you want? Actually empathizing and wanting to understand and trying to make it work for that person, they're going to want to work with you anyway. Like I get in win-win situations on a regular basis, because I'm not looking at what I could get out of something or what I could benefit out of something. The second I'm thinking about what I can benefit, they're thinking about what they can benefit. They don't want to benefit me at that point. But if I think about what can I do for them, they're going to want to do for me. And that's where win-wins occur. And it's hard for people to sometimes see that.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It seems very contradictory in a lot of ways for people to see.
Absolutely.
But it makes absolute sense.
Yeah. It does. So I've been getting these free coffees from her name's Dulce. She's the Circle K lady. And yeah, she's a heavier set woman, and she's doing her best. You know, I'll tell you, Lily, it was a tough conversation to have, because I had the conversation in caring for her, but she's talking about how her knees were bothering her and her back was bothering her, and she needs to see the chiropractor. And I'm like, well, have you thought of losing weight to help you with that situation? And I go, I'm a personal trainer, I'll give you a free month just to get started, if that's what because I just want you to get started. And it was uncomfortable. And I think she saw that I cared enough that she actually gave me a hug, because she's like, wow, to even have that conversation, like, that's a tough conversation to have. But he's looking out for me, and that's what it was. Like, I'm looking for her best interest. And our relationships actually blossomed even more since that encounter. Like, we always would talk about, like, how my kid's doing, how her kid's doing, and it's when you have the tough conversations with people, that's when real friendship occurs, though. When you're just like, okay, this is a tough one to have, but it's because I care. It just grows.
I know. That's so important. And it's so uncomfortable. I have to have multiple of those kinds of conversations with people.
Oh, with your coaching, I'm sure of it. I am sure of it.
That's right.
Huh?
Yeah, I mean, on the coaching side, yes, I have to do that, right?
Yeah.
It's otherwise, why are people coming to me
Absolutely.
in the first place? They're looking for a change. They need that radical honesty.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking from a friendship perspective.
Yes.
I have a friend. I have a friend right now who's she's just chasing a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's chasing a lot of different business ideas, and she thinks that I'm going to chase after the trending thing right now. Is because it's going to make me money. And I know where it's coming from. It's coming from a place that, you know, she has a family to feed. She wants to earn money, and she wants to give her kids and her husband an amazing life. But what's happening to her right now is like her energy is just completely depleting because she's spending all this time chasing after things that she doesn't care about, and she works hard. And this woman, if she worked, I know anything that she works at, she's going to be incredibly successful at. She just will be. But it's her happiness that's the issue. And how happy are you going to be succeeding in something that you don't care about?
Yeah.
So I had to have an honest conversation with her a few days ago, and I said, hey, listen, stop chasing after these shiny things. You need to stop.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care if you never speak to me again and you hate me for it and you're upset.
Yeah.
You're like, I cannot believe that Lily's telling me this.
Yeah.
And I said, I was like, it's a race to the bottom. It's not going to be good for you. You're not sleeping. You're not well. You need to stop doing that. Do what you care about. And and then she agreed. She's like, I know. I agree with you.
That's good.
And I said, I'll help you. I'll help you get there.
Yeah.
If you want to create a business that you love and about certain things that you love, I will help you get there. This is what I do for a living. This is my business.
Yeah.
I'll do it for free. I don't care. I'll meet with you every week. But you need to stop doing this right now because it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And she could have turned the other way. She could have said, you're crazy. I'm not going to speak to you ever again. You're a terrible person for saying that. But, you know, it didn't end up being that way.
Yeah. The cool thing about that is I think if we're conscious, if we're truly conscious about our emotions, because we are built to be emotional creatures. That's just what we are. But being conscious of said emotions is important because it gives you the time to actually digest certain things. I call it when people see red. Like, it's hard when a person calls you on something that never necessarily feels good. But they're calling it from a place of care. And even if they are calling it from a place of hate, those individuals, if you throw hate or shade back in their direction, it turns ugly anyway. But if you take the time to consciously like absorb certain things and be like, okay, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? Okay, this is kind of true. Just like she said, like, even though she knew you were right, it kind of can hit at the pride a little bit. Like, but having that respect to her as well for being able to take that in and digest it and understand it. And I think if, as a culture, if we taught each other these kind of things a little more regularly, we would do better overall. Like, it just like, it kind of reminds me of when I talk about psychology and we talk about the school system and how the school system needs to change and it's all the school system. And I go, the school system definitely does play a role in this. I think it is important that we need to be educated, but things do start in the home first too. And so the parents are important. The family members are important. Like, it's like we paint it so black and white and saying it's this one thing. And it's a society issue, and the society issue all stems down to the individual as well. And so when the individual is educated, it comes down to so many more things than just the school system. The school system may be flawed, but other things are also flawed. And what's so cool, I think in so many different ways too. With even Evan Carmichael, like he's starting a female series for entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And a black and a Latino for entrepreneurs. And this is what's so cool about this, is he gets it. He gets that an individual is more inclined to see, wow, she did it, so I can do it as a female. Even though it's okay, a human being did it. That's what it really is. But sometimes we need that specific, something that specifically looks more like us. Even as a personal trainer, I've seen it. I had 2 girls come in, and one girl would come in the morning and the other girl would come in the evening. They started off coming at the same time, and then one schedule changed. So after a 3-month period, one girl looked drastically different than the other girl. Like, they came in looking about the same. And so I'll call them girl A and girl B because I don't like using people's names. But so so girl B saw girl A, and she looks at her. She goes, "What did she do to look like that?" And and girl A goes, "Oh, I just listened to everything Cliff told me to do." And she's like, "Really?" And so you saw girl B all of a sudden made dramatic changes. But sometimes they need to, like, she was looking at me like, "Oh, well, you're a guy and this and that, and you have this, you have this, you have that, so you don't know what you're talking about, Cliff." Where it's like you're paying me to tell you what to do, and then you're not listening to me because I don't look like you. Like, that's how weird our minds can work sometimes. We don't even realize it sometimes. We're not conscious of the autopilot that we create. And for her to see someone that looked like her at one time look differently, all of a sudden changed everything. She's like, "Oh, wow, that's all I need to do." And that's what I love about human beings too. We're funny. I just say we're funny like that.
I like that you brought it up. To me, I believe in learning from anybody. It doesn't matter if you look completely different from me. Mm-hmm. But I do understand that people are more likely to learn from people who look like them.
Yes.
It's which is why we created these new series, because if you're a little girl, you want to look up to other women versus looking at a man who came from a different background, because people make excuses. That's the truth.
Yes.
And that's probably what happened to you, is that, oh, well, Clifford, you're a guy, you're probably genetically you build muscles way better than I can, blah, blah, blah. And it's just a bunch of excuses. Meanwhile, that's not the truth at all. Yeah. Right? But she had to see it in someone who looked like her. Yeah. Which was this other woman.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then even in our school system, it's the same way. I grew up in a very poor part of Toronto, and the kids in our school had a hard time learning in class because the teachers didn't look like them, and they didn't come from the same background as them, and we were also reading and learning history of people that didn't look like them. Yeah. So why would they even, there was just a huge block. They didn't want to learn from them. And it kind of brings me to this point. Recently, I went to go work with the YMCA. Mm-hmm. You have a YMCA in America, right? Yeah. It's American, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I went to go work. I did some work with the YMCA. Yeah. And it was a group of at-risk youth. Mm-hmm. So these are, and then I walked in. I look different from them, obviously. Yeah. I was a lot older. I was dressed in a suit. And I started my presentation, and I was like, I'm just gonna drop everything. I'm not gonna deliver my presentations as I usually would, because I'm like, these kids are looking at me like, what the hell do you know about my life? Yeah. To come and motivate me. Mm-hmm. So I started off by talking about my own past and how I grew up in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Toronto, and I mentioned where it was. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I mentioned it, their ears perked up. They're like, "Really? You're from there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from here." Yeah. I'm not going to name where it is, right? I was like, "I'm from this part." Mm-hmm. It's like, "Oh, where did you grow up?" I named the street. They're like, "Oh, yeah, my cousins went there." Yeah, okay. And then immediately they started paying attention to me, because they were like, "Oh, if she's not some rich woman that doesn't know anything. She's actually one of us.
Yeah.
Okay, if she could make it, and then I told them about my success. I was able to accomplish a lot of things in my life, and then they started paying attention.
Yes.
Then they started taking notes. So it's interesting how people's minds work.
It really is. I say the worst place to be oppressed is to be oppressed in the mind. Like I would never, I'm not one to say oppression doesn't exist. I know that it does.
Oh, yeah.
But the second you're oppressed in the mind, it's all over. That's when things get really, really dangerous. We live in a time where we have more opportunities than we've ever had. Like and even myself as, we fight for things that are really insignificant sometimes because we're not, I'm not even trying to be rude, but just the conscious awareness of self is we feel like people need to apologize for something because it's just the right thing to do. And we fight so strong for this apology instead of just do you. Be your great self and everything else will work itself out. So if someone calls me the N-word, I'm fine with that. I'm not going, what? You need to apologize for my life to be better now. If I just do what I need to do and just be the best version of me, and I've seen it happen several times. I've dealt with racist people and they actually will change their mindsets. But it's not you can't forcefully change a person's mindset. Let's say they do apologize. They're not apologizing to apologize to you. They're apologizing because it's politically incorrect and nothing has changed. But if you just stand up and you are you stand for a certain thing and a certain cause, and you actually do empathize and understand their side. Just like I say, it goes back to when you empathize with them, they will empathize with you and see the world the way you see it a little bit more. And I've seen racism is nothing more than ignorance. And so to get rid of ignorance is with wisdom, with understanding. And you don't have wisdom and understanding by basically re-bullying someone. If I bully them, now you need to apologize because, or even the whole fat shaming thing that's going on right now. I actually did a video of it on my YouTube. And it's like, if you feel strongly, you have to feel strongly about yourself. If you feel strongly in your character, a person's words shouldn't be able to break you down. If they're physically harming you, I get it. And even emotionally harming you, people should not do that. I am not for that. I don't think that is correct. But unfortunately, some people do that. And if you're strong within yourself, or you just surround yourself with people who will build you.
Sorry, Clifford, I think you're cutting out.
Oh, can you hear me?
Okay, are you back?
Yes. Can you hear me? I can hear you. You there?
Nope. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, it was just it was cutting out before.
Okay. So what I was saying was, one, you do have to surround yourself with people who are going to build you up. You don't want to surround yourself with people who are going to break you down. But at the same time, you have to have enough self-worth for yourself to know that if an individual is going to say bad or negative things, that doesn't define who you are. It doesn't define you. And Lily, what's really cool with what you did is you took a dance instructor and a chiropractor who said negative things, and you use those as strengths. And so you can use anything as a strength. And you also said, as long as you're not hurting anyone, because I'm definitely for that as well. Do what you can, just don't hurt anyone in the process when you do it. But the mind and the body are very powerful things. And you had two people who didn't see the world the way you saw it, and that's okay. But you're going to make it a reality. And now you might have influenced, who knows, 50 million people because of something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is that I could have, and these were professional people, right? It's not that these people were not anonymous, you know, YouTubers just like writing hate stuff on your videos. Like these are people who are professional. This was a professional dancer, and this was someone professional in this chiropractor has a lot of education, and I could have just allowed that to bother him. Like, well, they know better than me. I don't know anything.
Yeah.
But somehow I had the mindset of like, no, I'm going to do this. I know it's possible. People have done it before, and I'm going to follow those people.
Yeah, and that's unbelievably awesome. And I also want to say that's one reason I have trouble going to the doctor sometimes. Because they constantly tell you like what you have that's so bad and how there's nothing they can do about it. Like, yep, you're just this because science says that. And one of the most powerful things, and it's still actually unexplainable, the placebo effect.
Yeah.
The placebo, just having the belief of the achievable, your body will find a way to achieve it. And you look at science and you're like, oh, it's not supposed to work this way.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's your mind. It's having the mindset.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. It kind of reminds me of the story this guy was telling. I went to a Tony Robbins seminar back in March, and I think his name is he's not Tony Robbins. The other gentleman that was doing all. I think his name is Joseph McClelland.
Okay. Haven't heard of him. I'll have to check him out.
He's actually really cool. He's really good. So the seminar was run by Tony Robbins, and he was and he also ran it with him. So he partners with him in his business. So he's telling us the story about his mom. His mom called him and said, I'm in the hospital. So he ended up going to the hospital, and the doctor kept on saying that, your mom only has X amount of months to live. I don't remember how many months it was. It was a short period of time. And so Joseph looked the doctor straight in the eye and said, you cannot tell my mother that. You cannot say to her how much longer she has to live, because as soon as she starts thinking that, then she's going to die within that particular time. And the doctor's like, well, I have to tell her. So he just kept on. I mean, he did it in a really comedic kind of way. Maybe there's a YouTube clip or something we can find.
Yeah.
He did it in a really funny kind of way. Because he's a funny guy, and he just kept on saying, he can't tell her. So every time he would go to the hospital, he would just watch the doctor to make sure that he doesn't say that to his mom, that she's about to die. So he just did everything he could. He had a great time with his mom. He made her laugh all the time. And you know what? She ended up surviving for years.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that is a power of the mind.
Oh, the mind's insane.
If the doctor told her that, look, you're going to die in 6 months or 3 months, she's going to I guess I'm going to die. So, yeah.
That's really cool.
But, yeah, it's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to look up the YouTube video and send it over to you.
Okay.
I don't remember the specifics. I don't remember the timeline of how many months she had to live and how many years that she actually did live. But it was significantly different. Yeah,
that'd be perfect. It's because I think we hear things so much that it actually becomes a little cliche. Like, if you believe you can, if you believe you can't, it's the truth. And we hear these things, and it's just like, yeah, I've heard this song and dance before. But the one cool thing that I love about doing what I do is I love building and bringing people up to just be like, yeah, why not? Why not you? Why not you?
Yeah.
Because a couple of people told you can't do it. And I've only had one client. I unfortunately had to fire this kid because it was a tough one. I had never seen a person break himself down so badly. And I'll never forget. He tells me, he's like, you make me feel worse about myself. And I'm looking to always grow as well. If I do anything that breaks someone down, I want to know about it. So I asked him, I'm like, what am I doing to make you feel that way? And he goes, you make me feel like I can do anything when I'm here.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when I leave, I realize I can do nothing. And I was just like, wow, like he's that broken. And just like you said with your coaching, it started with the childhood. Let me tell you, the story was clear as day. I know why he was the way he was. And that was the hardest part. It was hard, Lily. It took me, I trained him for about 3 years. And I realized that I was actually hurting my other clients because I was holding on to something that just didn't want to see it. Like there's certain people who just, they're not ready to see it. You're not the right person to show them for whatever reason it can be. But you have to know, you have to pick and choose your battles. And I'm kind of, I'll run through a wall to get something right. I do have that mentality. And so I believe in people deeply. I believe in people. And that was one of the hardest ones for me because it's like, you gotta chalk up this loss, Cliff. You know, and then like, oh, I'm hurting my other clients, having this guy around, and he's not really doing anything. His negative energy is affecting their energy, and I'm like, dude, I've tried everything with you. And he actually saw it, and he agreed with me. He's like, yeah, I know, I'm a loser. And I'm like, oh, man, you're still missing the point. Ugh. So, yeah, if they have that built, like it's just been built in and beat into them for so long that it's just hard to flip that switch. And you just, I go.
That's tough.
It was a tough one.
As a coach to go through that.
Yeah, it was a tough one. And I will continue to wish the best for you. I want the best for you. I know it will come to you, but it has to come to you on your time. And that's it. But I mean, I actually looked up some stuff that Tony Robbins did as well. And the cool thing is he used a situation where he defines two characters instead of, like I say, people function at their 10 or their 1, but it is the same person. That is you. He actually used name that individual. So when you name the individual, it makes it not a part of you. And that's the one thing I didn't try with that kid. Like I said, I'm always trying to improve. So that one was like, what did I not? Well, I know I missed something somewhere. And that was that was the one thing where it's like, because some people, like if they can define it as something outside of them, then all of a sudden it's easier for them to change. Even though it is still within it's the mind. It's trickery with the mind a little bit. And sometimes you have to play trickery with the mind to get it to move in the direction it needs to move into. Like even with the big audacious things that you want to accomplish, I want to accomplish, and everybody else wants to accomplish, you have to see an end goal, but you have to break it into those small chunks after you've seen the end goal. Because if you see it so large, it can actually become a little bit intimidating. But if you break it up in chunks, it's like, I can do this.
Yeah. It's true. It's everything. You know, you probably do that in your fitness coaching. Is that people want to look? When people come to you, is it mainly for fitness or is it bodybuilding? How?
It started with fitness, and now with it's kind of funny because the way I coach people up, I want them to have fun in their journey. I call it the journey of life. And now I'm actually getting, I have like alcoholics, drug addicts, just different people. Like it's interesting how it's still people are looking for fitness, but they're looking for fitness in the mind, because fitness in the mind will follow with fitness in the body. Yeah, so it started off with just physical fitness, like just we're looking to, I want abs, I want my legs to look a certain way, but then it's turned into, if you're okay with yourself in the mind, the body will work. Because the body's honestly the easiest part. That's the easiest part. Anyone can look a certain, like, all right, eat this, exercise this way, jog this long. It's really, really simple. It's cut and dry. But when you get into the mind, that's a whole new can of worms. Because you can have a perfect body, and if you're not okay in the mind, the body's going to look just as bad to you.
Yeah, that's true. Because how many really beautiful people, like physically beautiful people, who have such a low self-esteem?
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't really matter. It's like it has to come from your mindset first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mind does all the work. It's tough to see that sometimes, especially in America, because I say they do a really good job at branding things. And a business needs to fulfill a need. And so to have a need fulfilled, you have to need something. And to need something, it's like they force supplements, they force so many other things. You need this, you need this, you need this. And again, like I say, when you live in abundance, it's not, you don't need anything. You need you. I'm just a tool to help you in your process. If you choose to use me to help you, that's your choice. But you don't need me. I don't need to put you in a position where you need me. You need this. And when I first started training, they actually taught us to think that way and respond that way. And that's why I kind of went off on my own. And it's actually worked perfect for me, because it's just like, yeah, you don't need me. The only person you need is you. I'll just help you figure it out and put it together.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody has the answers within themselves. Yeah. And we as coaches, what we do is we just guide them through to find the answers for themselves. And ultimately, they don't really need us. Yeah. So we open doors for them, and they have to make the decision to walk through or not.
Absolutely.
And when they walk through, then their lives start to change.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, like, it becomes a friendship.
Yeah.
So it's like they pay you to be friends with them because they trust you. Like, it's a true trust there. Like, I've had I actually have a lot of people who want to give gifts and they want to do everything for you because they know you'll do everything for them. That's what it turns into. I think it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I think it's just it's awesomeness.
Yeah. It's important to have that trust.
Absolutely.
I think that's so important. If there's no trust, there's nothing. There's nothing else. If people don't trust you, there's no way. There's no way you can influence anybody who doesn't trust you. That's like a fundamental
Absolutely.
part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when you do that, and just like what you say is your one word, having that kind of focus, you have that focus because you get like-minded people. So when I say, even as I say, functioning at your 10, right? Functioning at your 10 doesn't necessarily mean that a person belongs on your bus. And that's okay, but they can respect you and what you do and the people that you've surrounded yourself, and you respect them and what they do and the people they've surrounded themselves with. Certain businesses might not work with my business, but if it's a business that is doing right by people, I have no problem with it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what makes it so cool. Like, the one word book, what was really cool about it is even Evan Carmichael talks about how it's just a blueprint. And it's so important for people to realize that it's the actions that you take. The blueprint won't do it for you. It helps you succeed. It helps you put it to align everything together. And it's actually similar to, have you read the book Think and Grow Rich?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
it's a classic.
You need to check that one out, Lily.
I'm not a major paper book kind of person. I consume a lot of my books through audio because it's my learning style. I don't do well with reading books. So if I could find an audio version of it, some kind.
No, they do have the audio version. Yeah, they do have the audio version.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yes. Okay. It's a classic. It's an older book.
It's amazing. Okay. I think you can actually get it for free on YouTube actually too. Yeah, I think they have it on YouTube right now. Yeah. And it's similar in what Evan's talking about, because Evan's finding very successful entrepreneurs, and they always say success leads clues, and it really does. Like success really does leave clues. Yeah. And so when I saw the book the first, I'm like, you know what? I got to get this book just to see. I love what Evan Carmichael stands for. I love his whole crew. But the title, Your One Word, I'm like, okay, that seems like a simple title, but I got to read it first before I make judgment. And I read the book and I'm like, wow, this is a pretty amazing book. And what's so cool about it is it's similar to Think and Grow Rich with finding that burning desire. So when you do have your one word, it just helps you focus on what you're passionate about. And so that's my whole thing with when a person finds their passion, you can't stop them. They're unstoppable at that point. There's nothing, no one can say anything that's bad or anything that's too much, or it doesn't matter. They found their passion. And when you find your passion, nothing can stop you. And that Think and Grow Rich is the same exact thing. It's the same exact concept. You have that burning desire, and this is going to get done. Why? Because I said it's going to get done. That's it.
No, it's true. It's true, and it's just the beginning. I think a lot of the times when I coach people through their one word, there's always a concern that they're going to be locked in a box. Okay, if I'm about, belong, then am I in this box? I can't be anybody else. I'm like, no, this is just the beginning of it. It puts you on the right path.
Yeah.
And it really helps you make decisions, and it really, really shape your actions towards the things that you really believe in. It's just the beginning. It's not going to put you in a box at all. And once I say that to people, that's when they're like, oh, okay, I can see it. Because I think when they think like one word, they're like, oh, how can I define everything that's so amazing in my life to one word?
Yeah.
So it's just the beginning, like you were saying. It's the actions that you have to take, and then the passion that you have within you is going to come out if you know what it is that you really stand for.
Yeah. No, it's the coolest concept. And another thing, when, like I was talking about how you can say something that it will be a little bit hard for people sometimes. Like they don't want to hear that stuff. They don't want to do that stuff. Whenever someone does the thing that I tell them about and they actually follow through, they never regret it. Even if it's a little bit scary, sometimes it's a little bit scary. Sometimes they have their defenses up. It can be whatever. But whether it be physical fitness, whether it be stopping a certain addiction in something, whether it be their mindset in something, when you're done with the process, you will get it. And that's what I love. Like I love talking to people like you who live in abundance. And I do love talking to people about who have the lack to teach them abundance.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It's one of those things. Your job is never ever done until you leave this world. It's never ever done because we're having a good time. I'm talking with Lily. I'm having fun, right? Or I can talk with someone who's they're down in the dirt. They don't believe. I can talk to that person and create their abundance, and then they can just come join the party. That's what it comes down to.
And It's great. It's great to talk to people who are like-minded, but also at the same time, it's when we talk to people who come from a place of lack. I mean, of course, you don't want to surround yourself with those people. Then it goes back to our first point that brings us down.
Yeah.
But it really trains us to put in the effort to actually voice our messages properly. Because it's not about convincing people either, but those people challenge us. It's the same as exercise. The reason why, well, you know this a lot more than I do, but the way I see exercise and your muscles growing, the reason why your muscles grow is because you're putting in the effort. You're going against resistance. And that's how I see when you deal with people who are not like you, who don't agree with you, and when you actually are challenged, it helps you grow even bigger.
Absolutely.
Because now it's not like everyone agrees with you, everything is fabulous, but now you're going against resistance. So that's how I see it too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to. Very true.
Yeah.
It's when I first started as a personal trainer, it was so funny. Because I'm like, they're just teaching all these people wrong. I'm going to figure it out. This is going to be great. Everybody's going to be in shape. And I got out of it, I'm like, this is a little more difficult than I thought. And yeah, one of my clients told me the coolest things. And it was, think of a butterfly and a caterpillar. And the caterpillar has to go through stages and steps to become a beautiful butterfly. But if a caterpillar didn't have those steps, it just one day I'm going to go off this log and start flying, you wouldn't appreciate it the same. So the process is the beauty, no matter what. So even when you do have those difficult moments, if you can just appreciate the process of those difficult moments, everything else works itself out. And it just makes it a beautiful, beautiful thing. How long have you been married for?
I've been married for 2.5 years.
2.5 years. How long have you guys been together before then?
8.5 years.
Okay, so basically...
Sorry, we've been together for 8.5 years altogether.
8.5 altogether. So me and my wife, we're actually coming up on our 11th year anniversary. And I talk about just the funny things that people will fight about sometimes. Like, it's just like, it's ridiculous. Just like, this is what we were really fighting about. And you look back at those moments and you appreciate them because there's just this strengthening going on in a relationship. Like, it's just, you're tailoring, and you're creating this trust and this love for one another. And I know my wife would take a bullet for me, and the same is true for me with her. And it's the coolest thing. Like, you look back at it and you kind of laugh at some of the moments you have had and you may have in the future too, because they're just moments where you have that humanity and you were I had to use the bathroom and you were using that. Like, this is what we're arguing about. Yeah, this is what we're arguing about. But
I know.
Yeah, it's just you appreciate the journey fully, like truly appreciating the journey and loving it.
Yeah, I know. It's part of the journey, and being married myself, and I've been married for 2.5 years, as I was saying, is that the important thing in relationships is to really appreciate each other. That's number one, and the second is to be able to grow.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
the relationship and try to grow together. I see this a lot of relationships. People do grow. Like, we change regardless. We're not the same people we were when we first met our significant other. We will change. To just make sure that the change is not happening apart. It's happening together. And that's the toughest thing in being in a relationship, I think, is people grow apart. And we hear it all the time, right? Oh, what happened in a relationship? Did someone cheat? No. Did anything bad happen? No. We just grew apart.
Yeah, it's
sad. It happens.
It's I don't, because sometimes we'll use job or work and those are considered bad things, and they shouldn't necessarily be. Like, even what I do, I love what I do. Every moment of it. I love being a trainer. I love coaching people. I love all of this stuff. But there is work. There is work involved. It's not like I just like, and I figured it all out. I'm the greatest trainer ever. I know everything, so I don't have to learn anymore. I don't have to like, no, you learn and you grow and you develop and you appreciate the process. Like, and so with a relationship, it does absolutely take work. And people have this, well, it shouldn't be work and it shouldn't be this. And it's like, no, it is going to be those things. Like it is those things. And work doesn't have to be a negative word. It's just we use work as a negative word. But you have to nourish the relationship, you have to help the relationship grow, you have to do certain things, and it will continue to treat you. A relationship is like its own form of a business. When you really think about it, like it's not a brick and mortar thing, but it's alive and you have to treat it as such and you have to take care of it. And when you take care of it, it's a very beautiful thing. But if you don't take care of it and then one day you're like, what happened? I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And we take things for granted. That's when, and it's a series of events. It's not just one thing.
Yeah.
Something happens and then you wake up and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. That is very true. Yeah, I had the cool thing too when so our relationship was tested in a good way when our son came, because wow, kids are tough. I was just like, man, we're not.
That's what I hear.
Oh my goodness, we don't get any sleep. We don't have like the first couple of months. He wouldn't let us sleep. He would let us. Coffee became one of my best friends because that was the only way I could function. After a while, I'm like, wow, this kid is making it interesting. Like, whoo, okay. But it was the coolest thing because it's like when you pass those tests, it's like, okay, yeah, we're rock solid. And that's what it comes down to. Are you guys thinking of having any kids or?
Not at this moment, no.
Okay.
No. You know what? The truth is that I don't feel like I have a calling to being a mom.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
I don't have a strong calling yet, at least.
Yeah.
It's not something that I feel very strongly. I love kids. I love other people's kids.
Yeah.
I love what they represent. I love playing with them, but I don't have a strong calling to be a parent.
Okay. No, I can understand that. It's and not even to be in a mean way for the people you're coaching. I'm not calling them kids, but it's almost like when you are coaching people, those can be a form of giving to a kid. It's very similar. Yeah. It's very similar that way.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because when I'm placed in a tough situation, and I get placed in a tough situation, I always ask myself, what would a great parent do?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had amazing parents growing up myself. I also know a lot of great parents, and I also read a lot of parenting books. And I said, what would a great parent do? And then when I answer that question, that never steers me the wrong way. Because if you think about a great parent, they still have to provide an amazing life for their kids. They want to make sure that they raise these kids that do amazing things in life, like that, like they're good human beings, their kids, like not just going to these Ivy League colleges, but they're actually good people. But also at the same time, you have to hold them accountable when they make mistakes. So I always ask myself that question. It's like, what would a really good parent do in this situation? What would a great mom do? And then really that never steers me the wrong way. I always go in the right way when I think like that.
I gotta say, with you saying that makes me very emotional. And this is why I'm kind of the way that I am. Just as you talk about childhood, so I have an excellent dad, and I had a very bad dad. And the bad dad, I call him the sperm donor. I don't have anything against him. I did when I was younger, but I got to see how you can think with a bad dad and how you could think with a good dad. And when you can see both sides, I think that's why it's so easy for me to empathize with people who are angry or mad or hurt or have to break people down, because I know it's so much more than just that. And it kind of makes me actually even empathize with the so-called bad dad, is what happened to him to feel that I wasn't enough. You know what I mean? And so it creates a puzzle, and it's you don't break hate with more hate.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is he like my dad, the real dad, so there's the sperm donor and the real dad. And my real dad believed in me so strongly before I even believed in myself, because I just didn't have the belief in myself. I actually had a stutter when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he believed in me before I believed in myself. And now it's just become a raging fire where just like, there's nothing that can bring me down. There's nothing that can break me. And I want to give other people that gift. Yeah. And so it turned into, people see a finished product. They don't see how the product got to where it was. Because people look at me and they're like, oh, wow, you're really charismatic. Even when I first started, they're like, how do you talk to people so easy? You make them feel very comfortable with themselves. You make them feel that they can do anything. You make them, and I'm like, it's all practice stuff, though. It wasn't, you're not these packages that we just open up and all of a sudden you're this person. Like Lily, the TED talker, the woman who can speak in public comfortably, the woman like, it wasn't like that in the beginning.
Oh my gosh, of course it wasn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't even speak English properly when I first came to Canada. I had to go to ESL classes.
Yeah.
And now I do a lot of speaking. You're so right. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of practice. So we're not perfect packages that we're just like, oh, look, we're perfect. Everything is great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things there.
And so you see all of that, and it's so cool that you absolutely want to share it with the world. Like, that's where I kind of am at. Like, I actually would like to, if the sperm donor, I would like him to feel what I felt. I would like him to feel that. I don't have hate towards him or ill will towards him. I did at one time. And it's just like, but when you get past all of that, it just, you live in this world of abundance. And I also do talk about, you have to practice abundance, because we do have those human weaknesses in us too, where we'll see something a certain way, or we'll just have a bad day, or our emotions might be off. And that's why it's always a practice thing. Just as in a relationship, it's a practice thing. That is what the work is. The work is the practice. You constantly have to lift. You constantly have to educate. You constantly have to work with your mind. You constantly have to work with all of these things and stay within the eye of the storm and continue to grow and continue to progress, and let everybody follow along suit with your actions. It's not an external thing, it's an internal thing. If you focus on your internal, everybody else will see it and respond accordingly.
Yes. And that's the way to be, and both you and I are in the same situation. We've been through a lot in our lives. Mm-hmm. We have figured out we're still figuring out how to really control our minds and really take the abundance mentality. And now the next thing to do is to contribute back and spread your message in any way possible. And I think that's the best place to be, when you could finally get to a point that you could contribute back to your community, your society, to the world. And that's where I'm at right now, which I feel amazing. This is the most fulfilling place to be. And yes, the work is never done. You have to continue to get better. You got to keep continuing on. But I feel like when you contribute back to other people, in a way, you're practicing and you're getting better too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just become is, I guess is the best way to put it. You just are in the is state of being. And when when you get to that state, it's just awesomeness. Yeah. Is what it really comes down to.
Absolutely.
So it was great speaking with Lily Ma. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, make sure to comment below. Let me know if you guys enjoyed it. And I'd like to do more podcast formats. And you guys have a great day.